All right, welcome back to Suburban Bourbon. We're season 2, episode 8, and we're at Prosperity Social Club. We're here with Will, the owner. And Will, can you tell us where the address is here for Prosperity Social Club?
Prosperity Social Club is at 1109 Starkweather Avenue on Lincoln Park here in Tremont on the west side of Cleveland, Ohio.
That's right.
Right across from Lincoln Park. And speaking of parking, a lot of parking around here, so really easy to get to. So let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about Prosperity Social Club. I know we wanted to come here because we had been here in the past with our families and some friends.
Exactly.
And anywhere we can bring our wives to that they like as well is probably somewhere we're going to go back to. But it's not just the drinks, it's also the food. So tell us a little bit by what the vibe is here and how you brought that vibe together to get people to come and visit.
I like to think of this place, and I sometimes call this place the Clevelandest bar in Cleveland. You know, I didn't do much to craft the vibe here. I'm but a humble steward of this place. This bar has been in continuous operation since 1938. It was owned by the same family, the Dombrowski family, from the 30s through 2000. It was owned briefly by the legendary Gillespie brothers from 2000 to 2005. It was treated as sort of an old man kind of clubhouse bar. And then in 2005, a very visionary bartender colleague of mine and someone who I have undying respect for, a woman named Bonnie Flinner, who was a bartender at Nighttown on the east side for years and years, purchased this place from the Gillespie brothers, renamed it from Dempsey's Oasis, which had been the name of this place for 75 years, to Prosperity Social Club, and really wanted to create a temple to Cleveland beer, to Cleveland drinking, to the provenance and pedigree of what it meant to be a Cleveland bar for so long. So Bonnie created this place as you know it. Obviously she didn't put the wood paneling up that had been around for a long time, but she did track down the old Pride of Cleveland Pilsner signs, all of the classic beer mobilia, I think is what you would call it, beer finalia.
We're gonna coin that phrase.
I like that.
She made this place really into what it is. I moved to Cleveland in 2009, so 4 years after she bought it and created it. I moved to Tremont, and this quickly became my favorite bar on earth. So I knew Bonnie for a long time. I was a regular hers for a very long time as I was starting my own career in bartending. And I actually tried to work here a couple of times, and Bonnie would never hire me. She didn't think I was...
There's some irony in that, right?
She didn't think I was up to snuff, which she was probably right. I mean, if you can't trust your bartender, who can you trust, right? So I loved this bar. And so my story with it is... I started my own bar called the Spotted Owl down the road, just a cocktail bar, in 2014. And we, in the opening months of COVID in 2020, the way I like to tell the story is in that first month of COVID when we didn't know anything, right? When it was like, make sure to leave your groceries out in the sun.
Yeah.
Like spray Windex on your mail before you bring it in.
Yeah.
Because we just had no
You never know.
idea
Yeah.
what was going on.
Zombie apocalypse.
Exactly. So I spent that first month of COVID in a bottle, just like drinking in my like Flying Dutchman ghost ship of a bar with my buddy Nicky, who owns a gym, right? So we were both...
You're out of commission.
Can I curse on this?
Sure.
Fucked. We were both fucked, right? We had no idea what was going on. No one knew what was going to happen with restaurants. No one knew what was going to happen with gyms. And we were really getting hit the hardest, right?
Yep.
As an industry, obviously the nurses were getting hit the hardest.
Yeah, it's understood.
But like as for two industries, we just had no idea what was going to happen. So Nikki and I probably drank a case of Jameson, and I don't even like Jameson, over the course of that first month of COVID down in my empty bar. And
this interview brought to you by Jameson.
Exactly.
Jameson Blackbush in particular, or Black Barrel. Yeah. See, that's how much I hate Jameson.
The whiskey.
Bushmills, Black Bush, that's the stuff I like.
The whiskey of the pandemic.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Just did everything looked green. It was just looking through a green bottle. But I came out of that first month kind of determined to come out of whatever this was going to be bigger and better and stronger than we started, right? And so I wrote down, all right, if I have all the money in the world and I have all the, I could buy any bar in Cleveland. What makes the most sense for me, right? What makes the most sense for my company, for my team? What would bring in, obviously, the right top line, the right bottom line, but also express sort of my values about bars, what I believe in about bars.
And what are those?
I think that what I love about bars most is that they are the opposite. They're everything that Facebook isn't, right? The American tavern, I think, is really important. It was very important to the foundation of this country. And it is, I think, could be, if we thought of it the right way, very important to getting our shit together.
That's right.
Right? Like, I got a liberal arts degree. I'm a philosophy major. So, we have a joke in the humanities that it's like, oh, as it turns out, when you spend 30 years telling people that they should only study STEM stuff, right? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. When you just hammer that into them for 30 years straight and tell them that, like, art history majors and humanity majors are a joke and you'll never work and you never get a job, as it turns out, your chickens come home to roost and your fucking democracy falls apart, right? Like, oh man, who would have thought, right? Similarly, we have this this very unexamined position, this very unexamined thing that we keep telling each other without ever thinking about, which is no politics and religion at the bar. It's like, and then you wonder why we have no idea how to talk about politics and religion with each other. Right? We have no idea.
Civil discourse, right?
Exactly. Wonder why those skills suddenly disappeared, right? On Facebook, on the internet, which is like seems to be the only way we interact with each other anymore, everything about that is just motivating you to dig your heels in more and more and more and more, right? Like, the position becomes more extreme. It becomes less nuanced. It becomes less. There's less compromise because what's motivating you to do it? The algorithm isn't.
And you're in an echo chamber too.
Exactly. It feeds on outrage, right? A bar's the opposite of that. Bar encourages you to compromise because you're sitting with a stranger and you're looking them square in the face. And if you are talking about difficult things, you are naturally motivated to listen to what that person has to say, to maybe compromise your more extreme positions, right? For a lot of reasons, right? Because of, as you said, civil discourse, because of just simple social decorum. But at a bar, and again, none of my bars are exactly punch palaces, right? Let me make that clear. But at any bar, there is baked in the slightest hint of an implication that if you dig your heels in too much, you're going to get your ass kicked. You know what I mean? If you say the wrong thing because you decided to be a prick.
You're in the public eye at that point.
That's exactly right.
And we've talked about it. It's like we've, as a society, gotten to a point where if I don't agree with what you say, people have gotten to, I can't even talk to you.
100%.
And we are both people that, the only way to understand someone else's viewpoint is to talk to people that don't have the same viewpoint.
Absolutely. Right? And that's like, that's the university experience, right? That's what we're shooting for in cities. Right? That's what the Cosmopolis is supposed to be. It's what the university is supposed to be. I would argue it's what the American Tavern is supposed to be, right? Because the American Tavern is different from the British or the Irish pub. It's different from the French salon. It's different from the Roman cafe. The stakes are different. It's not a coincidence that that so much of the American Revolution was discussed and penned and plotted in taverns. It's not a coincidence. It's who we are. I think we've lost sight of that. I think market forces come to bear, and I think that we have come as a society to understand bars and restaurants to be vending machines littered throughout the luxury hotel we call life, right? I think that we have lost sight of what bars represent and what they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to mean to our lives. And so in many ways, our company, not just Prosperity Social Club, but the other bars and restaurants that we own, I mean, we're very deliberate about being a place where a lot of different people can come together.
I think, and I'll tell you, I think that our mission with Suburban Bourbon, we've said in other shows, and we were talking a little bit off camera, that it came about because we enjoy talking and meeting new people. We enjoy all the things you mentioned about going to a tavern, to a bar, a restaurant, and we wanted other people to get back out there. Because I think it is the lifeblood. I think when you see people at bars and restaurants, especially coming out of the pandemic, it restores a sense of normalcy.
Right.
And I think we needed that.
Yeah.
And we missed it, I think, candidly, when that wasn't happening.
I think you don't, as cliche as it is, I mean, cliches become cliches for a reason because they tend to be true. You really don't know what you got till it's gone. I think a lot of people didn't appreciate what it meant to just be able to go sit at a bar by themselves and have a drink and maybe meet somebody or maybe be left alone whenever they wanted.
That's right.
I think that we really took that for granted. Obviously, we didn't in my business because, if you want to talk about lifeblood, yeah. But I think a lot of people out there really didn't understand how much their spirit was fed by being able to go sit at a bar whenever they wanted.
Well, I think, and that's the one thing too, and we believe in this, I mean, with our families, with our daughters, like that community that you have, when you go to a really good establishment, that sense of community exists.
Right.
And that's the special part of places like this.
Right.
I mean, Prosperity Social Club exudes that.
It does, it typifies it, and it does, it's seeping out of the walls here, right? Because you can't create some simulacrum of a bar that's been around for 80, 90 years. You just can't. You can try, and then you end up in this weird uncanny valley thing like all these AI babes, right, with 11 fingers and 400 teeth, right? It's like, oh, that almost looks, but it's not quite right, is it? And like those bars are out there, right? I mean, again, you can't create it. There are certain processes that you can't speed up or slow down. Again, at the risk of sounding trite, like that's one of the great things about whiskey, right? You can put staves in a pressure cooker and try to speed up the process and approximate the taste of something that's been sitting in a rack for 12 years.
Well, in a similar vein, I think is kind of what you mentioned, and we've talked about this as well. I mean, bourbon, in particular, that we enjoy is, and we both kind of have this rule. We have a lot of bourbon at home,
Right.
but nothing's dusty,
Right.
and nothing. I think we have one. I have one thing that's not open, but almost if somebody comes over, try it, open it up. Well, it's sealed. Open it up and drink it.
Yeah, right.
Bourbon is meant, and whiskey is meant to be shared.
Right.
Right, and you open it up, and it's meant to be sipped.
Right.
Right. You don't shoot, in my opinion, you don't shoot bourbon.
Right.
You sit and talk over bourbon.
Yeah.
And I think that's which we like to do.
That's definitely exactly. We like to do it, but it's also I totally agree. It's about sharing it with people, and a lot of our friends are like, well, we don't know bourbon like you.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Can you taste?
Yeah.
Can you sip?
Yeah.
Then let's try it.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it's speaking of COVID, right? Like a lot of people's palates were really seriously affected.
That's right.
Right?
Literally.
Like, we want to talk about taking something for granted, right? I mean, it was terrifying for us, like who live on our palates, who live on our ability to taste and smell in a way that we can create something beautiful that, again, that hopefully other people want to buy. So when you realize that even your very senses can't be taken for granted, you really do realize that, no, it is about ceremony. It is about breaking bread together. It is about tradition. We need to, I'm not saying that every tradition or every ceremony is worth keeping around in that it's been around, right? Obviously, again, that's been something that we've all been thinking about and talking about over the past few years too. Just because it's old don't mean it's good, right? It's true of whiskey, it's true of bars, it's true of a lot of things. Right.
And when things get lean, chickens come home to roost, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the ones that aren't doing things well,
Right.
in all business, right?
Right. But it's important that we at least understand what is a ceremony, what is a tradition,
Right.
and what isn't, right? I mean, it's been an opportunity, I think, as you guys clearly have shown. It's an opportunity to take stock, and it was an opportunity to consider our values and think about what's really important to us.
So you've mentioned, Will, you have some other bars and restaurants, I think, and we'd love to, for our audience to know and about some of those as well. You mentioned the Spotted Owl, and that's, I think, right here in Tremont,
Spotted Owl's right on the other side of Tremont, yeah, on West 7th and Jefferson.
So we're going to have to hit you up for a show there as well.
We'd love to have you.
We'd love to go over.
It's a little bit more difficult to light.
That's okay.
But,
That's okay. We're versatile.
You got
exactly.
Yeah.
So what, are there other restaurants or bars that you'd like to tell us about?
We have one other going concern called Good Company, which is a burger and wing joint. You mentioned diners, drive-ins, and dives off camera earlier. We were just on that, which is very cool. It's exciting to have a restaurant, like a family restaurant, that feels versatile and that feels approachable and feels like something that we could build more of, right? That we could. It's a product that we're really proud of, that we really stand behind. It's the first thing that we've ever had that we feel like, oh, if I could move the mountain to Muhammad and put these places where there are families, I feel like we can not only serve the kinds of food that kids and parents want to eat, but also serve it in such a way made from scratch. We make all of our bread in-house. We do everything totally from scratch. The only thing we don't make in that place is the ketchup and the mustard and the mayo. To be able to like serve something that people want, but also something that a parent could feel fine about putting in their kid's mouth, right? Because kids want to eat garbage. That's what they want. They want to eat the most processed, sugary garbage that they can. They want French fries, they want chicken nuggets, they want burgers, they want this stuff. Well, that's what we make, right? But we make it the right way. So the Good Company brand is very exciting to me. Prosperity Social Club, as I said earlier, it's not like you can build more of these. You'll just end up building weird, cynical simulacra of old bars.
Where's Good Company?
Good Company is in Battery Park on West 76th, right off of Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, so it's in that Detroit Shoreway building, and that Detroit Shoreway neighborhood, and in a building called the Shoreway. So it's all very easy to remember. And then we are also building another bar in the Detroit Shoreway neighborhood at 53rd in Detroit, called Old 86, which is just a regular ass bar. Cool. Just fluted Gibraltar glasses, no cocktails, no food, just a tavern, just a bar. Yeah, which again, like Spotted Owl, Esquire magazine, Best Bars in America 2020, which is hell of a time to win that award, right?
Come on down.
Come on down. Yeah, exactly. Watch me drink Jameson.
But for sale, baby shoes never worn. Yeah.
But the cool thing about Prosperity that we experience, I mean, when you walk in, it's a bar. I mean, you can see, behind you all the whiskeys and whatnot. Right. But you have good food.
Oh, outstanding food.
And we had a really good meal here. And so somebody comes here with their family. Right. I know, for example, on Saturdays you open at noon.
Right.
What would you recommend? Someone's never been here before. And I agree with you. This is a kind of you're getting Cleveland when you walk in here.
100%.
So I've come here from out of town. Yeah. I saw your sign. I want to come in. What do you recommend?
We're known for our Eastern European fare, right? My father is Irish Episcopalian. They've been around since before the American Revolution was plotted, right? But my mother's family are Hungarian Jews. They came over in the 20s. So between like an old Irish family and a Hungarian Jewish family, there's a lot of cabbage in my house growing up, right? Just coming out of my ears. A lot of cabbage. So the Hungarian stuffed cabbage rolls here are incredible. They remind me of home. They remind me of my grandmother's cooking, of my mother's, which became my mother's cooking. The pierogies we get from St. Joseph's Church, the ladies in the basement making them by hand. They're the best pierogies in the city because they're the real thing. The potato pancakes, latkes are incredible. The kielbasa noodles with bacon is incredible. I mean, it's heavy, starchy peasant food, but
we're staying for lunch.
So,
by the way.
Exactly, it's so good though.
It's so good, and it's on a chilly day like today, right, and a gray Cleveland Saturday, it's the best food in the world to have.
Food,
yeah, and to be perfectly honest, again, at the risk of overstating it, these places are starting to disappear.
Yeah.
Sokolowski's is gone. Seven
was
Roses
sad.
in Slavic Village is gone.
That's right.
Like in that, you want to talk about some unbelievable Polish food. And you want to talk about the real thing, But when those places go, you don't get them back.
And I'm like part of my heritage is Polish, and so stuffed cabbage was always something we had at every holiday.
Right.
But the recipe has now been passed on. And it just, no disrespect to the family that does it now. It's just not the same as, when Aunt this and Uncle that were making them. So I definitely can agree that, even if you're trying to keep it,
Right.
that it's hard to keep that alive.
It is. It takes constant vigilance. You know what I mean? And it takes a certain eye towards institutional knowledge. It makes you revere and respect your people, right? Your cooks, the people who've been around for a long time. Because, you guys ever go to the Diamond Grill down in Akron? It's a steakhouse, been open 90 years. It's the best restaurant in Ohio, in my opinion. But, a steak tastes better when it comes off of a grill that's cooked 900,000 steaks. It just does. I don't know why, but it does, right? That
Same
Again,
logic with a pizza oven.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
with
Right?
and with whiskey and with bars. Again, the
Yeah.
things that have been around for a long time.
Again, not all things that have been around for a long time are good, but a lot of the best things in life have been around for a long time, and the food here and the traditions of the Eastern European food that we cook here, which is the only thing that we cook, but it's the thing that I would recommend before anything else. The reason why it's so good is because Bonnie had a tremendous reverence for what this space always was. This place was selling pierogies in the 30s, right? Was doing fish fry in the 30s, 40s, 50s. She got that. She understood that. She recognized that provenance. She recognized that history, and she respected it, and she institutionalized it. And so again, in terms of my role here, I just try to stay out of the way.
You know what I mean?
I will tell you one thing, for anyone watching this, and I think you experienced the same thing. When we came here, you could tell this is somewhat of a neighborhood bar. So you obviously have regulars,
Right.
but you felt welcome.
Yeah.
When you walked in, the servers were more than happy to recommend some of their favorite food. We got drinks. It was just a friendly vibe, and it's a nuance because you can go to places and like, what are these people doing here?
Right.
You didn't get that here.
Not at all. I mean, and it was high energy. There
Yeah.
was, we came on, I think it was a Friday night, and high energy, and it was just a fun atmosphere.
I just believe that if you keep your people happy, you look out for your people, a happy bartender can't help but take great care of a customer, because it's so much more difficult to be a jerk to a customer than to be friendly. It's so much more difficult. You do it when you hate your job.
Sure.
But if you don't, you take care of your bartenders take care of your customers keep coming back, they spend enough money to take care of your shareholders. That's how this has to work. Any other way lies madness.
But what I hear when you say that is it's almost protecting the experience for your customers.
Right.
Right? Customers come to have an experience. It could be, like you said, the person wants to sit by themselves, fine.
Yeah.
The person that wants to do some experimenting tonight and try different drinks,
Right.
great. The person wants to bring in their family. If you can't protect that experience for
Right.
each and every customer, they're turned off.
But that experience is not delivered by what's in the glass. It's not experienced by
Exactly.
it's not delivered by what's hanging on the walls. It's delivered by people.
Exactly.
Right? And
Exactly.
you have to adore and respect your customers, but a policy of appeasement creates monsters. Again, we know that, right? So ultimately, if you want to really depend on something, you got to focus on keeping your people happy, because it's your people who are going to make the customers happy. Maybe a customer will hear my highfalutin philosophies of hospitality, and maybe that'll increase their love of the product. But I can't deliver that to every single person who walks in here, right? And things are going to go wrong. It's just a numbers game, right? We're going to run out of something. We're going to be 86 something in the kitchen. Something's going to get screwed up in the kitchen. Something's going to get screwed up behind the bar.
You're gonna be
Life
left,
happens.
You're
Yeah.
gonna be left waiting for too long for one reason. It's gonna happen.
Sure.
But if you feel like
You've walked into a place in which you are given a certain share of generosity of spirit, you're going to return that generosity.
That's right.
It's a fair point. And we've always said, in every industry, there's issues. We talk in our day jobs, there's issues that happen. It's how you handle those.
Right.
And how you handle, whether it's customers or stakeholders or peers, it's how you handle those relationships that really drives out what happens after that. And I can say, like we were saying before, I mean, the way that this is operated, it definitely is working, because the environment here is positive, and it makes people want to come back.
It's an incredible place. Again, I take no credit for it. The only thing that I've done is stay out of the way. That's all I've done, man.
So again, come on down to Prosperity Social Club at 1109 Starkweather Avenue. We've really enjoyed our time here today, getting to know Will, and we're going to enjoy our time even more, getting to try some flights of bourbon.
Yeah.
But we thank you.
Yeah, and come down. I mean, not only, like we said, great spirits, great atmosphere, great food, but I love this, the Clevelandist bar in Cleveland. So come on down to Prosperity Social Club. Thanks
Cheers,
again,
guys.
Will.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Will.
My pleasure.
So we're back here, still at Prosperity Social Club, and this is where the fun starts. We're going to be meeting with Jeff, and he is going to walk us through a bourbon flight, which is always exciting and tasty, and it'll help us when we have lunch here later. But Joe, you excited as I am?
I am, and it's a blind flight. So this is going to be interesting, and this is always a great example of what you really like, because it's without the labels.
Yeah, I mean, so when I started to curate a whiskey list here, I didn't want to put my name on anything that I didn't personally endorse and love. So while I could build a shelf-to-ceiling whiskey and do what a lot of places do, I just keep a carefully curated list. So I hope you like this stuff as much as I do. I did a little research on you guys, watched a couple episodes with some of our friends around town, and there's a word you guys throw around a lot, and nothing wrong with it, and it's smooth. So I want to challenge you guys a little bit here.
We've been researched, Joe.
See if we might get you into something that might challenge the palates a little bit.
All right.
And if not, I won't take any offense. Everyone likes what they like.
Bottom line, we had bourbon. So.
Exactly.
But in the end, you'll have experienced something. You know if you like a particular flavor set or you don't. There's some tasting notes, and we'll see what you get.
Okay.
In your Glencairn Tulip glass here is your starter whiskey. This one won't be blind for you. This is kind of a baseline, so you compare what you're going to taste with what I put in your glass here. And this is one that a lot of non-whiskey experts that want to get into my vast list, if they ask me what they should start off with, this is one, the next bad whiskey that Redwood Empire out of Northern California puts out will be their first. I'm in love with this distillery. It's not super aged and it's not super challenging, 90 proof. And what this is, there's no dominant grain in the mash bill. This is a blend of straight bourbon and straight rye. So in that way, it's very versatile. So you get to a lot of people that maybe just know bourbon or are just your typical Jack, Jameson, gin drinkers. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If they want to start challenging their palates a little bit, this is usually what I'll recommend, and it doesn't break the bank. So one of the better whiskeys out there.
What's the price point on Redwood?
You can walk into a store and get that for under $40. They are starting to put out bottled in bond versions and cask strength versions, which will cost you a bit more. But for their baseline Lost Monarch here, the blend of bourbon and rye, less than $40.
Definitely got a little spice to it, which I do like.
I like it.
Not bad, right? It's great for cocktails as well. You'll have that eternal debate: is what goes into Manhattan, bourbon or rye, or even stepping up from their Vucarays or other classic bourbon or rye cocktails where no one can agree. Perfect compromise.
What do you put in a Manhattan based off that?
My go-to will be that if I don't want to gouge the customers' wallets, which I am very much about selling whiskey here and not collecting it. So if I don't want to offend anyone, my reach for a bottle will either be that Redwood Empire that I just showed you, or Rittenhouse is a great 100 proofer. So it's gonna not dominate your taste buds with proof, but it makes it great in a cocktail.
That would be good in a Sazerac.
Indeed, yeah, for sure.
I mean, it could stand on its own, and it's not. I mean, there's some heat to it, but it's. I think of like Weller Full Proof. you feel it, but it's not overwhelming as you kind of consume it, if that makes any sense. You know, you don't, it doesn't linger.
And Weller foolproof.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cask strength. I mean, this is
good
not.
stuff.
This is not, but it definitely goes down.
Oh yeah.
Goes down smooth.
These guys are wimps from Suburban Bourbon.
Nah, we like this though. Thanks for the introduction. I've never had this.
So with that as a baseline, 90 proof, a little some. You got corn, you got rye, you have a little bit of barley in there. Why don't you tell me what you think about this next one here? Why don't we start with now that green guy? We're gonna finish with that. That's.
I have my thought of what that is.
We'll see. Right, I can smell it from here. But let's go. Let's start with pink here.
Okay.
All right.
There's a mapley smell to it. Is that weeded?
No.
No? That's good.
It's
It's
definitely
a lower proof.
I would say so
At least
too.
it tastes like it.
I feel like it'd be sub 90 proof based off of.
I'm tasting like a hint of like a mapley taste or a, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Some
it's got a
sort
little
of,
smokiness to it.
yeah,
Too.
I like this.
If you hold that up to the light, you're gonna notice the first thing you're gonna notice is that color.
Yeah.
And you get that one of either two ways. You can do you can extra char your barrels, throw in a second barrel, or just let it age forever, and you'll get that natural color out of it.
Let's go through them all. We'll say which one we like the best, and then you disclose.
You got it. All right, cool.
So that was definitely in the running.
And make sure you're drinking water in between. You want to get the taste of that one out of your mouth before you experience the next one. And then moving on to your orange guy there.
This is almost like a caramel,
Yeah.
a caramel flavor to it.
It's got a little more peaty taste.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. It's not as heavy, if I'm trying to describe than this one. And this seemed a little more heavy, you know, when you were drinking it?
Yeah.
This seems a lot lighter. Not in it's the body of the taste, but just the consistency.
But again, I'm not tasting high proof.
You have your baseline 90 there. Oh, you finished yours. Let's hold on. Let's give you something to compare to. Well, we know this guy's 90. And are you thinking a certain region? Are you thinking a country? Are you thinking? Because I'll break it to you guys now. I threw you a couple curveballs, and B, these aren't all from America.
Yeah, this
This
I would think is not.
I would not. Yeah, agreed. Based on what we've had, like the Japanese whiskeys and stuff.
That tastes peaty.
Yeah.
I'm ranking them the way I like them. Okay.
So behind is first or in front?
I
is
like
first?
these are the ones I like. If I had to rank, just sort of yes and no. Now this reminds me of the what is it? The Nika coffee.
Oh, Nika coffee malt.
Yeah.
This is definitely peat.
Yeah.
Tasting, which would probably say it's a Japanese whiskey. I could be wrong. That one definitely is.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a Japanese whiskey. I think. Don't you?
I think you're right.
'Cause
And after
there's
tasting this versus
Yeah.
that, I think
There's a peppery taste to it. You taste pepper.
yeah.
You know, if we're getting any of these right from where we came from and started, then we're drinking so much bourbon now. Because I'm
we're
already
not-
noticing. I'm noticing when I go to places and I'm drinking, I'm like, oh, I can't have that. I'm thinking this was not me like X amount of
No.
years ago. I
But
was
we're also
drinking
not
Jim Beam.
experts, so we're going to
Yeah,
do a lot of this.
yeah, we have
wrong.
fun with it. We have fun with it. We don't profess to be.
This is why I love blind flights. Is you can be wildly wrong, have a great time, and you know this is the one area where if I'm completely off, I drank a great ton of whiskey in the meantime and got to experience some flavor notes.
When I do a blind tasting at my house, everyone will bring a bottle, and you wrap it up so you don't know what it is.
Right on.
And I don't keep them because that's the other little game, right? Everyone takes their whiskey home. Everyone puts $10 in.
That's where you and I would differ. But I mean, if you're coming to my house, you're leaving that bottle behind.
Or we're finishing
And
it.
then the winning bottle ends up getting the money. And it's funny. It's never the most expensive.
No, but that's also where, now that we've done it a few times, you know the people that are coming and what there is going to be most desirable, because the more complex, bourbons are not going to win.
Yeah,
not with a group of people that are probably
Novices,
new to bourbon.
Yeah, it's surprising. Price being what it is more of a factor of rarity anymore than necessarily quality. From time to time, I'll do the same experiment, and I'll have my bartenders pour something for me, especially since I experienced COVID for the third time. Seeing where my palate, how much my brain has been rewired, and see if I can identify a bottle off the shelf without him or her telling me what it is. And usually I do pretty well. Lately, since the third bout of COVID, not so much. I'm experiencing new things all over again, which is kind of cool, actually. But it's shocking how many times someone will pour me something that's maybe a $30 bottle, and I start guessing stuff on this top shelf that A, you can't get anymore, or B, is hundreds of dollars if you could. So.
Yeah.
We always say, and we're biased because we interviewed Boom Boom Mancini as one of our interviews with his Boom Boom Bourbon. It's $49 or $44 for the lower proof and $49 for the higher proof.
Yeah, either way, it's under 50.
Just $5 difference.
Yeah, one double gold at the spirit, the higher proof one, spirit competition, and the other one bronze. Point is, it's good bourbon. It's sticky, right? Because you're like, oh, it's Boom Boom Mancini, but it actually is good bourbon. You don't have to pay a lot for it.
Yep.
And we both enjoyed it. And friends, we've gotten it for.
Exactly. It's good, and I actually like the higher proof one. I mean, that's a decent bourbon.
All right, let's try this one.
On to blue.
This is definitely an American bourbon.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Higher proof. This is definitely over 100, I think.
I would agree. Yeah, this had more heat than the prior three in my book.
I think this is a classic Kentucky bourbon.
So where are your rankings? I'm still with pink. Pink is my
I
favorite
like pink
so
and blue
far.
right now.
Yeah, pink, blue, and then the two middle ones are.
This comes down to what you and I've talked about. I have this debate with my brother about Scotch. He's a big Scotch drinker. I appreciate Scotch. It's just not my favorite. Like, I don't like it. Like, if you said, Joe, what would you like? I'm not picking Scotch, but I appreciate the way it's made, the way it's aged, and the nuances to the taste.
And I appreciate when you have, really good whiskeys, whether it's Scotch or bourbon. I appreciate, because generally speaking, if you age something long enough, there's a smoothness to it, or that you're going to get that you're just not going to get with something that's lesser, or not as many years. But I agree. Like, I'm not a Scotch guy, but you throw Johnny Walker Blue at me, I'll probably drink it.
Hey, if you guys are paying.
So this is the last one. This is the I will be stunned if this is not Scotch. Well,
I agree.
Scotch or probably it might be Scotch.
I think it's Scotch.
It's going to be interesting. Well, when we have tried the Japanese whiskey, it smells and tastes like Scotch.
Well, some
it doesn't.
of them.
It doesn't linger like Scotch.
Typically what America gets off that you can readily get on the shelves from Japan is heavily influenced by Scotch, and the grandfather of Japanese whiskey plied his trade and learned everything he learned it from Scotland, married a Scottish woman. So Japan is heavily influenced by Scotch. Now, with that said, though, you can still get some very peaty Japanese whiskeys, and you can get some light, friendly honeysuckle.
Agreed.
Apple.
There's a bourbon. There's a
wide
bourbon
range.
version we had at Sakana.
Yeah, when we went to Sakana, we had a whole flight of Japanese whiskeys, and it ranged from exactly what you said, which is very peaty, Scotch-like, to more bourbon-like, and it was a mix between. And so I would say that I agree, and I tend to like the ones that are less Scotch-like, but again, I think I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's all a matter of, do you like friendly, or do you like aggressive, or do you like a little bit of, but
What's your favorite?
I'm a maniac. I like to be tossed around the room by my whiskey. So
I don't know if that's a category. It is now.
Tossed around the room by my whiskey. I love that. I am going to coin that.
I want an experience. I want to know it was in my mouth, and I don't want it to go down without a fight. So
That category has been coined by Jeff here at Prosperity
Yeah,
Social
exactly.
Club, circa 2023.
for instance, on that blue, you nailed that. That's high proof, and you'll find out here in a second just how high. But that's my favorite thing on the shelf.
Is it? Nice. There was. So if I had to rank, I went pink, blue. I think I have to, I'm going to try these again because I'm not sure which one. I don't know which one I like better.
Or I mean, even if your starter is more your speed, that Redwood Empire. But so keep that one in mind too.
I would say pink, blue, starter, brown, gold, green. Like this.
And of course, I didn't bring my little cheat sheet with me.
It's all right. That's
I
mine.
actually think I'm like this. I think I like.
This is good bourbon. I mean, this is a good.
This is good.
Yeah.
So in my rankings, I go pink and then redwood, blue, orange, brown, and I finish with the green. If I had to pick them.
I go pink, blue, redwood, brown, orange, and green.
All right, close, but we're a little bit off.
I mean, we're close.
So a little bit of a flip flop in the middle there.
Yeah.
All right. So, and where would you range these as far as you think in? What style do you think you're going with here on this pink?
I think it's American.
I would agree with you on that.
I think it's probably going to be more of a classic Kentucky bourbon. I would say it's a lower proof.
I'm in the 90s with the proof.
Yeah, I mean, I say lower, less than 100.
And
I'd probably say it's something we know. I mean, in terms of that people would know. I don't think it's any unicorn.
yeah, and I think it's a decent number of years.
This what you guys are drinking is my favorite whiskey that came out last year, at least come out here.
Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, Sagamore Spirits is. They're out of Baltimore, Maryland, actually.
Oh, is it really? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I thought there was a Sycamore down in Cincinnati.
Oh, that's
that-
Sagamore.
Oh, Sagamore.
Sagamore.
Gosh.
And-
Too much bourbon tasting.
And what you got there is their rye that they then throw in a second new barrel. So
Okay.
they're double oaked. I thought I was being clever and I was cornering the market by buying every bottle that I could find months back, and that it was going to be a rare one-off. Bad
become
news for
popular.
me, good news for everybody else is this one currently is pretty available in stores right now.
Nice.
Right.
We'll have to try that.
Yeah.
We like the ryes.
I
Yeah.
tend to
And what
lean.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What proof is this?
This is not terrible for 96.6.
There you go. There you go.
Nicely done.
96.6, which is in the 90s.
Yep.
Dude, you got it. Then what we got?
Then we got redwood, then we got blue.
So
And
I like
you have
blue then redwood.
blue
He
then
likes
redwood?
redwood then blue.
So blue.
Blue.
If you ever run into this bottle in the wild, I can't recommend picking it up enough. I don't know if you guys are cigar drinkers or cigar smokers. In this case, you were a cigar drinker.
Did you have
Yeah.
the flake too?
Not yet, unfortunately.
I didn't realize.
I'm here till like midnight tonight, so or else I'd
be
be
here
right.
all night.
I'd be right in this with you.
Okay, let's talk about this one.
Joseph Magnus, the cigar blend, is their kind of their cream of the crop, that lottery bottle, and you got to know somebody to get it. And thankfully, I know people. I actually have 2 batches right now, believe it or not. And this is their rocket fuel. And what they do is they take their whiskey and then mature it in up to 3 other casks. So there you have a blend of their whiskeys that they separately age in sherry, cognac, and Armagnac casks. Add no water, all full proof, throw it together, and make something magical.
That is really good.
That's
That
really
is
good.
good
So
stuff.
what's the proof on that?
This is. Every batch is different. That's why I don't have them memorized. This is. Oh, they just put the alcohol here. It's going to test my math skills. 126.32.
Wow.
It doesn't taste like that.
No.
That's dangerous. I mean, that's a good
That is
bourbon.
way dangerous.
And I think it's all those wine finishes and cognac and Armagnac finishes that make it go down a little easier than what your typical 126er would be.
Next was the
brown.
yeah. I had brown lower in my rankings, but what was brown?
Brown, this is where I'm messing with you guys.
Hold on.
Country of origin, what do you think?
I have to. I forget.
Japan.
Japan? This one
I'll
is-
be honest with you. It tasted more tequila-ish than it did
Oh
anything
yeah.
else.
You know what? You were exactly right. I bet it is. I bet it is tequila.
You guys tease it out at the end. This is one of my most expensive bars in the bottle. Bottles in the bar. Racel Extra Añejo 6-year age tequila from Mexico.
See, it pays to drink tequila. I thought it was tequila, and I was like,
What?
I feel like
I was trying to describe. And see, you tricked us. I was trying to describe it as a bourbon.
got it in the
and
end.
as soon as you said it, I'm like, you're right.
when I drank it initially, I'm like, it tastes like tequila, but I think we're only doing whiskey, so this is going to be something I've never tried before. But no.
How dare you, Jeff?
Well,
See, I drink more tequila than this guy.
He does.
which
I'm
is
not
why
a
I do
tequila
Añejo.
fan.
you got to remember, like, part of my job is to get people to expand their horizons so that they buy more stuff and spend more money. So, it's crazy what a barrel can do, and you especially 6 years in the Mexican heat, you start to, even though that's agave and not some corn or rye or barley, start to get notes of bourbon and other whiskeys in there. So,
Well,
a lot of people
depending
that don't realize they might like tequila, I give them a little,
To be fair,
not too much, a little
I-
taste of this.
I will say, like, Añejos, I mean, I love Casamigos. I mean, I think Casamigos, the Reposado was what was introduced to me by my buddy, Michael Salama, who he said, just put it on ice and just try it. And so I did it because I was like, I don't think, outside of having margaritas, I had no introduction to it. Fantastic. But this is Racel. So, like, where's Racel?
Racel is, this bottle gained popularity thanks to one LeBron James, who we were talking about earlier, showing it off on his Instagram feed, like, hey, this is, I'm a rich guy, so this is what I drink, kind of a whiskey. But yeah, it's $250 a bottle if you can find it.
Nice.
My favorite's Sincoro, the Michael Jordan sponsored, whatever. It is really good. Since we're name dropping, Michael and I actually shared a bottle together in Chicago about 2 years ago. It was fantastic. A little pompous, but I liked them.
What about the Clase Azul? Do you have that bottle? It's a fancy looking bottle, but it's also really good.
Never say never. Say never. I'm slowly. Now tequila's taken off in America. It's slowly getting more steam here. I get a lot of mezcal fans though. So if Clase Azul mezcal, I might be making an appearance here soon.
Nice.
All right. What else you got?
The gold.
Not yes or orange.
Orange.
Country. This one you said you thought had a little peat to it, right?
I did, yeah. I thought that was more Scotchy, but I'm not sure if it's Japanese or if it's Scotch. So that's where I was going.
I agree. It could be Japanese. I keep deferring to that.
All right.
Actually, in Ireland for this one.
Ireland, all right. Here's Risky. So is it Redbreast?
It's a green spot, and this one they took their regular green spot and aged it in Zinfandel barrels. And I'm holding on to the last breaths of my last bottle of it, but I figure I'd share it with you guys. One of my favorites.
Look at this totally disrespecting across the aisle. I mean, everything is peaty to us over there.
Yeah,
Right?
no, but this is good.
Some Irish distilleries are known to add a little peat, but it's very rare, and I don't think the Middleton distillery's doing it.
And it's actually a little lighter.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense.
That was lighter for sure.
But there's a little hint of it, but not overwhelming.
Well, speaking of peat,
Yeah, this is definitely. If this isn't Japanese, then I'm really going to be. This has to be. It's either,
Well, it's either Japanese or
either
Scotch
or
or
Scotch.
straight up
It's got- it's
Scotch,
one
and
of
we
those
don't-
things.
Yeah.
For those of you at home, you could smell this outside.
well, not to get hung by a microphone cord here. Scotch, actually, product of the Brooklady Distillery in Scotland. This is the Octomore 13.1, their newest release that I'm as shocked I was able to get a hold of.
It's in a very intimidating title.
I was going to say, and it not
Octomore.
and the bottle is intimidating.
Yes.
I could be wrong, and maybe there's whiskey nerds out there watching this that'll correct me, but as far as I know, in American shores, this bottle, more than any other that you can possibly get, parts per million on peat, has them all beat. They just,
I mean, it is, yeah. It's
once they think they've gone too far, they notch it up 3 more levels.
Okay, so Octomore. Go ahead and say it again.
Yeah, we're living in a boggy swamp, starting a campfire, lighting a cigar, and again, you talk about. See, this would have been my number one. So everyone.
That would be your number one in the whole.
As far as since I've been trying to recover my taste buds and wanting to be thrown around a room, this is my guy. This is
proof.
This throws you around the room.
So everything we've tasted today, the average person here in the Cleveland area, they can acquire it, do you think? Except for the Magnus?
The Magnus is going to be a tough one.
and the Ray Saul is probably hard to get. I don't think.
Ray Saul pops up from time to time. You, if you go to Ohio Liquor's website, you should be able to find a bottle of that, I would assume, right now. And I want to say even my shop in Rocky River has it at the moment. Octomore, dang near impossible. Joseph Magnus, you'll find their gray label, which is awesome for the price. This one's right around $100.
Yep.
So the non-full proof version of it, a little bit different with the wine with the wine finishes on this guy, but this one you should be able to find no problem. Cigar blend, good luck. You're gonna have to come to me if you want a little taste of 2 different batches. The green spot standard one you'll find all the time. The Zinfandel finish here and there, you'll probably be able to hunt it down. Like I said, unfortunately for my sales strategy, that Sagamore Double Oak Rye is pretty much everywhere right now. So
good for us, because I'm going to buy some of that today probably. So Jeff, before we sort of wrap up, let me ask you this. So when people are coming here to Prosperity Social Club, what, and I know you have a huge spirit menu here. Bourbon, what's the go-to for most people when they walk in?
Bourbon, our best-selling bourbon by far, mostly because it's our house bourbon for cocktails, is Larceny. Larceny wheated bourbon is great, and get that.
It's versatile.
Yeah,
I could see that.
Get that frosted mini wheat quality, especially in like an old fashioned. But Maker's Mark. I'm trying to get people into 4-grain whiskey, and Penelope has landed on our shores out of New Jersey. Penelope is yet to make a bad whiskey, in my opinion. They're getting the cream of the crop barrels out of Indiana and blending them into something special. So I'd say those are my winners right now, just straight off the shelf, not break the bank. But then I'll always point out my top shelf as well.
Perfect. Jeff, we can't thank you enough, and I appreciate you. You're the first person I reached out to and talked with.
Thank you so much.
Again, we're at 1109 Starkweather Avenue here in the heart of Tremont, right across from Lincoln Park. And you have to come down to Prosperity Social Club.
Absolutely. I mean, not only great, as we talked about earlier, great food, great environment, but you've got whiskeys, you've got and you have tequila and other spirits to pick
knowledgeable
from.
too. I mean, Jeff. Jeff paid his special attention today, but
it's a well put together collection for sure.
Exactly.
So definitely come down here, Prosperity Social Club.
All right.
Thanks
We're
again.
good.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.